Oh, what's good, everybody? I feel good today. I hope that you guys do too. It's hard to believe, but we have arrived at the Sunday of Week 10 in the National Football League. And if you are new to the show, this is Early Edge Live, your sports betting brand of record. We're here every single day, every single sport, special shows all over the place. But here for the next 60 minutes, what we do is we give you our best bets for the afternoon and evening. We break down every single game on the board. And if you have any props that you like, drop them in the chat. We have the best prop handicappers in the world, and it's not close. Now, as far as giving out stuff today, we want to change a few lives and add a few family members. So here's what we're going to do. 200 likes. Pound that like button. Every single person who's watching right now, I need you to hit the like button. Huon, Timothy, Jameson, Araz, KD, all of you hit that like button. Then if we get to 400, I'll give away 4 year-long memberships. There is no price on this. It is really the best value in all of sports betting. But we have a lot to get to, so let's bring in the stars of the show. And you know, on Sundays at noon, I bring in my heavy hitters right next to me, live from Nashville, Tennessee. We call him AB. Alan Bell, what's good?
What's good, Coach? What's good, everybody? Got a nice board today. Let's hit it, man.
Let's go. It feels really good. M squared, I know this scares me, but when I look at the board today, plays are just jumping out. That hasn't been my feeling the last couple of weeks. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I actually have a pretty big, for me, betting card. I had a pretty big betting card on Tuesday as well. So, yeah, I tend to agree with you. There's a lot of spots that I like today.
Oh, awesome. Now, I mentioned having the best prop handicappers in the world today. Well, you know I'm talking about the man right below me, live from parts unknown. His name's Alex. We call him Prop Stars. Good afternoon, sir.
What is good, Coach? AB, Mikey, always a pleasure to see you guys. Yeah, I'm excited. I love this slate. And, Coach, I don't think there's anything wrong with seeing the board clearly, which it sounds like we're all hopefully doing today. And, yeah, I'm ready to get after it.
All right, well, let's get after it. And the theme of the show today is going to be Underdog. And a big shout-out to the great Sam Huff. He was an underdog back when he played. He has died at the age of 87. He played for the Giants. He played for Washington. So rest in peace to Sam Hunt. Other big storylines today, guys. Big Ben, COVID list, not playing against the Lions. AB, how big of a deal is that for the Steelers?
You know, I don't think it's too terribly much of a big deal. Like, I'm not a big Mason Rudolph guy, but it's not like Ben Roethlisberger was tearing the lead up, to begin with anyway. So this team is led by their defense. That's how they win games. And, seemingly they try to, win 24-13, 21-10. Like, that's their style of play. So, yeah, I don't think it has too terribly much. And in fact, people who jumped on Pittsburgh today, with a much smaller number, I think they found a lot of value.
Yeah, and we may or may not have a play here on the show from M squared. And, Mikey, I know you're always educating the audience on how much a player is worth when it comes to line movement. Was this too much line movement with Big Ben coming out?
Yeah, it definitely was too much line movement. And the thing we don't talk about often here, just because we run out of time sometimes, but we talk about a player being worth a point, 2 points, 3 points. Not all points are created equally in terms of where they are on the number. So this one moved 3 points, but it was at 3 significant points because we're talking about from 8 to 5. And the most common numbers in the NFL are going to be 3, 7, 6. Those are the top 3. The 10th most popular number is going to be 8. So we saw a move of 3 points that not only moved the full 3 points, moved through 3 of the 10 most important numbers against the spread in the National Football League. This was a massive move. It's closer to a 4.5 to 5 point move. And that's simply way, way, way too much in this spot. So I only actually make Ben worth 1.2 points over Mason Rudolph in simulations. And I could very well support the argument that there is no drop-off at all. Ben's one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL so far this year, statistically. So, is Mason Rudolph good? Is he a starting quarterback? I'm not ready to say that by any means, but it's not the massive drop-off that we're used to seeing from Ben in the past, or frankly, really any other quarterback that's a top-tier quarterback going to the backup. So yes, big market overreaction in my opinion. The only thing that I will caution that with is the Lions getting 8 might have been a gift on the Lions side to begin with. So some of the movement may not necessarily be all related to Ben. Some of it might just be that line was maybe a little mispriced to start. But what we got at 5 today and up to 5.5, as long as you're under that key number of 6, I think it's a pretty good play on the Steelers at home.
All right, very good. Incredible information there from M Squared. By the way, we love the dedication of all of our viewers out there. Phase 1 said, picking up the cake for my daughter's birthday party, but I still had to catch y'all. Happy birthday, Ophelia. Ophelia, happy birthday from the Early Edge crew. What are you, 6, 7? It's incredible, Ophelia. Now, let me come to you, Alex, because when you talk about a quarterback changing up the prop market, now, a lot of people fall in love with names and not necessarily production. Are we doing that today with Big Ben?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Mike hit the nail on the head. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. Ben has been atrocious. His raw numbers, the advanced analytics, the metrics, he has been bad by pretty much everything that you can measure. Like the productivity of a quarterback, it has not been pretty. So I don't think this is much of a downgrade, if a downgrade whatsoever. However, we haven't seen a large sample size of Mason Rudolph with this cast. We do know that there is no Juju Smith-Schuster. Chase Claypool is out, so he's going to be playing with some guys that we haven't seen a lot of, even with Ben and now with Mason. So it does change things. There is some more uncertainty, but yeah, I do not think this is a significant downgrade for the Steelers whatsoever.
All right, and we will, of course, break down that game when we get to every single game on the board. Now, we'll talk about Robert Woods tomorrow. That's Monday Night Football. That's the Rams. That's a big deal as he tears his ACL, but we're not going to spend any time on it today because we have too much to get to. Now, AB, let me come back to you because I said the theme of the day is underdogs. Last week, let me read this stat to people. 5 teams won as an underdog of at least 5 points or more. Broncos, Falcons, Jags, Cardinals, Titans. That's tied for the most in a single week in the last 30 seasons. That's how upside down last week and this season has been. This season are 76-55-1 against the spread the underdogs are. So let me come to you. On the board today, I want to know right now, is there a team of an underdog at least 5 points or more that you think could win on the field today?
Yeah, I do, and I think it could be the Atlanta Falcons against the Dallas Cowboys. I understand that the Falcons' defense isn't that great, and everyone is expecting a Cowboys, big offensive explosion from what we saw last week against Denver. But look, a lot of times these hangovers take 2 games, and if you look at what Atlanta has done in their last 4, Matt Ryan's averaging twice as many throws with 20-plus air yards compared to his first 4 games. Also, you look at how the Cowboys play defense. Look, they play man coverage 50% of the time. It's the second most in the NFL, and Matt Ryan loves throwing against man coverage. He averages 9.7 yards per air or in the air versus man coverage compared to only 6.3 against the zone this season. So they've kind of found Kyle Pitts here. If it gets into a shootout, look out, man. It could be the Atlanta Falcons doing it, not the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot too. Mikey, what team are you looking at in this category?
Yeah, if I had to pick one that I think could shock everyone today and win outright, it's going to be the Carolina Panthers. Look, we saw how good Arizona looked still last week without Kyler Murray. Pretty sure that Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins are both going to be out for this one. Chase Edmonds obviously is out as well. It's just one of those spots where the line is certainly inflated if Kyler Murray is not playing, and it tends to look like he's not going to. Meanwhile, Christian McCaffrey back on the other side is one of the few skill position players that really has a massive, massive impact. So if we catch the break there, I haven't bet this yet, and I'm not on Carolina even against the spread at this point in the week, but I do think that they're a team that can go in there and under the right circumstances, manage the game well enough to be competitive and steal one. Because if Colt McCoy's in a competitive situation, he still can turn the football over, and just having Christian McCaffrey cannot really be overstated, as he's just someone who's probably going to touch the football at least 25 times in this game.
There's no doubt about that. All right, keep an eye on that. Again, these are just our fun picks. These are not official picks, but we're just targeting based off the trend of what happened last week. Alex, when you look at, there's like 5 or 6 teams that fall into this category today. Do you see one you like?
Yeah, I like Detroit, actually. I thought that Detroit was a live underdog, even before this Big Ben news came out. I like it a little bit more. I mentioned earlier, I don't think Rudolph is going to be a steep downgrade from Ben, but that's obviously, going to kind of thwart the Steelers' plans. It was projected to be a low-scoring game, which I think it will be. The Lions are winless. I think they're playing with nothing to lose at this point. The weather could be bad in Pittsburgh. I could see it being low scoring. Could see a special teams touchdown. There's a lot of unknown variables that could occur in this game. Would not surprise me whatsoever to see the Lions come out with a win against a Steelers team I think is a little bit overrated as well.
All right, very good. Just for the record, I am also on the Falcons, and the jeweler is on the Lions with Alex as well. All right, guys, let's get into our best bets for the day. So we do them at the beginning of the show, and then we recap at the end of the show, and then get into every single game. Don't forget, please smash that like button for me. I want to give out as many memberships today as I possibly can. Loadmeister, shout out to you. I always like it when you guys put my name into the chat. All right, AB, what official plays do you have on the board today? Go.
Yep. So we are on the Rams -4 against the 49ers. We are on the Saints Titans under 44.5. Ryan Tannehill over half an interception at -115. We are on the Patriots -2 at home against the Browns. We are on the Seahawks Packers under 49.5. We are on the Chiefs Raiders over 51.5. Bills -12.5, and the Chargers -3.
Take a screenshot or take a picture. Write these down and get them in as we go, and then we will also break down each bet as we get to said game. Mikey, what do you have for us so far?
Yeah, so from the Tuesday mega preview show, I'm on the Rams -4, Chargers -2.5, Seahawks Packers under 49.5, Chiefs Raiders over 51.5, and then from this morning on Early Edge this morning, I was on Steelers -5. I would play it at -5.5. I would not play it at -6.
All right, very good. Thank you. All right, Alex, what do you got for us today officially?
I've got 7 props, gentlemen, that I've given out earlier.
Yes.
These are not new plays. I want to preface by stating that some of these lines have moved as well, so we could talk about where I would play them up to and down to as we address each game individually. But yeah, Dan Arnold's most recent prop I put out over 3.5 receptions. The next one is Corey Davis under 49.5 receiving yards. Then we've got Stephon Diggs over 73.5 receiving yards. Then we have TJ Hockenson over 4.5 receptions, Kirk Cousins under 274.5 passing yards, AJ Dillon over 54.5 rushing and receiving yards. That is a combo prop. And then last but not least, Darrell Henderson over 62.5 rushing yards.
I love it a lot. All right, I'm also writing down a lot of your questions from the chat. We'll get to as many as we possibly can throughout the show on any props that you guys like on your board. But, guys, let's jump in to the board. And, AB, we're going to start with you. Falcons and the Cowboys, and we know that this number is at 8. You just said you think the Falcons could win on the field. I believe that, too. Here's where we stand as a show. So Uncle Dave has 2 props in this game. Dalton Schultz under 48.5 receiving yards, -115. And then Matt Ryan over his passing total, 290.5 plus 100. He's really been finding his groove. Talk to me on if the Dallas Cowboys, after getting blown out at home, can come back, or if the Falcons continue their better than average play.
Yeah, so I think you're going to see 2 offenses that are putting up points, right? If you look at the Atlanta Falcons, you know, they've gotten better and figured it out by simplifying what they do. All right, it's a recipe of more offense and more takeaways. All right, their last 4 games, they're 3-1 compared to 1-3 in their first 4 games. They've got 7.9 net yards per attempt compared to 5.8, and takeaways. They have 5 in their last 4 games compared to only 2 in their first 4. The big question is the Dallas Cowboys. What does their offense look like? You know, after that sluggish game against the Denver Broncos, does Dak Prescott and the offense really put it together? Because that game was all about the Cowboys. It really had nothing to do with the Broncos, to be completely honest with you. So do the Cowboys bounce back? If they do, yeah, they got a decent shot at it. If they don't, Atlanta will put points on the board, and they might be playing from behind all day long.
Alex, there is a question in the chat. Great information from AB. Dak Prescott's number today is 299.5. The under is juiced to -115. Based off what we saw last week and a lot of what AB just said, would you like that number?
I think the number is obtainable. I think in a certain game script, he is more than capable of throwing for 300-plus yards. However, versus this Atlanta defense where they are heavily favored, I am concerned that they are going to lean heavily on the running backs with Zeke and Pollard in the backfield. We've seen Dallas used that game plan a lot this year, and we're seeing lower volume out of Dak as a result. So he's not posting the super gaudy numbers that we're used to, partly because they've been controlling a lot of games that they've been winning, and they've been leaning heavily on the run game, and he just hasn't had the sort of volume that we're accustomed to seeing. Michael Gallup is back in the lineup, which I do think helps them, and I do think he'll continue to throw the ball. But yeah, I just don't know if Atlanta can keep up with Dallas enough to have Dak to get the sort of volume required to have a strong lean on this over.
All right, very good. Jason, Pooh Bear, AJ, Ernesto, Maiden, so George, see all you guys in the chat being very, very active. Continue to leave your Twitter handles and smash that like button for me. All right, Mikey, let me come to you. We're going to go straight to Tennessee because the Titans, they have been not shocking the world, not surprising the world. They've been playing as good as we thought they were, but now there's no Derrick Henry. They still win a week ago. They're laying 3. The total's at 43. The Saints come to town. Here's where we stand on the show. Uncle Dave has Jeremy McNichols over 19.5 receiving yards. AB, I know you have 2 plays. I'll get to you, but Mikey, start the conversation.
Yeah, this one's interesting. The total's dropped a little bit on this one, and it's to the point where I'd actually consider a contrarian over. Not every week I give you one of these, but every few weeks we ended up having a spot that's kind of a contrarian over. This is that spot for me. The total is just a little bit too low. Both of these offenses can still put up points. It's going to be very interesting to see how the Saints operate without Alvin Kamara on the field. I was very encouraged by how much Mark Ingram was involved in the passing game in the first few weeks here with the Saints again. I think that they're going to be just fine on that front. So my favorite way to lean here is going to be on the over. Going to be a little bit of contrarian play as it's moving down, but that's where I'd be at it right now. I don't feel great about either side in terms of covering the spread. But I would lean towards the over on the total in this one, as I do think that each team still can put up some points.
Well, I agree with that as well. AB, you got 2 plays, and 1 you just added late. What do you got?
Yeah, so first one is the under 44.5. And look, I understand exactly what M Squared is saying, and he's not wrong. I mean, it's such a low number already at the 44.5, and now you're seeing, 43. It might even drop more. Look, no Julio Jones today. No Alvin Kamara today. Trevor Simeon's the quarterback of the Saints. Ryan Tannehill has been dealing with an illness the last 48 hours or so. And A.J. Brown is questionable too. Plus the Titans' offensive line is banged up. Look, everybody thinks these two teams are about offense. They're actually led by their defenses. You look at that Rams game the Titans won. They were spotted 14 points by their defense, right? I think both of these teams are due, for a flat spot. And I think this is the one to do it because their defenses are pretty good. And you look also at the defense that Ryan Tannehill is going to be going up against, the New Orleans Saints. That's why we're also going to play Ryan Tannehill over half an interception at minus 115 because the Saints have 11 interceptions this season. Ryan Tannehill, he has 8 this year. And in his last 4, he's got 1 in all 4 games, and he has 5 total over that last 4. I think this is a recipe for him putting the ball in the air, especially if the Saints get a lead. So, yeah, under 44.5, Tannehill at least 1 interception.
Amazing, amazing nuggets. Alex, what do you got?
This Saints defense is quietly phenomenal. In particular, their front 7 is absolutely dominant. They have allowed the fewest rushing yards of any team in football, even more stout than Tampa Bay. They ranked first in every single rushing defensive metric. They are historically good up front. So, yeah, I have been very impressed with New Orleans defense, particularly their front 7. It is not getting the sort of attention it deserves, in my opinion. So, yeah, I do like the under in this game as well.
Okay. Mikey, chat question. Trevor Simeon under 28 pass attempts, minus 114.
I think you can always lean towards the under just because of the quarterback situation with that team, but I don't feel great about it, to be honest with you. I think the game, I lean towards the over more than the under. I think that the teams are better offensively than they've shown. I know the defense has shown the ability to be good, but I wouldn't touch it personally. But if I had to play it, I would still lean towards the under just because the Saints are creative with the way that they run the offense. So I think that that's kind of vulnerable.
All right. Pooh Bear says, do I smell a showdown? Play that beautiful music. Not this time, but you might be smelling something in the air for later in the show. I'm just saying. One final nugget. Tennessee, they've won and covered 5 straight. since being upset by the Jets. Just something to think about. All right, Alex, I'm coming to you. Next game on the board. Jags and the Colts, -10. Indianapolis, total 47.5. Now, the Colts, we had them against the Jets on Monday night, Alex. And Mike White throws a touchdown. I'm like, this is great. Then he goes out, and the Colts really flexed their muscles with Jonathan Taylor. Now they're laying double digits again. Your thoughts?
This Colts team is a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde situation, but I think they've been subject to some bad luck. They are very talented, and when you look a little bit closer at some of the advanced metrics, they are better than their record would also indicate. Wentz is also playing very well. I'm not sure if he's getting the sort of credit and recognition he deserves, but yeah, I think this Colts team is legit. I think they're one of the best teams in the AFC. I like them in this spot to cover versus a terrible Jags team. Jonathan Taylor is phenomenal. Probably the best running back or one of the best running backs in football right now without Derrick Henry. Wouldn't be surprised me whatsoever to see him lead the league in rushing yards. But yeah, I'm a believer in this Colts team. I think they're going to take care of business.
All right. Don't you have 2 plays in this game, sir?
I do have 2 plays. Yeah. So I've got Dan Arnold over 3.5 receptions. Dan Arnold, since he's joined the Jaguars, he is essentially functioning as the Jaguars wide receiver 1. He has a 1.86 yards per route run, which leads the team. And he's also run routes on 74 and 77% of drop packs over the last 2 weeks. Jamal Agnew, Laviska Shenault, and Marvin Jones also have been very inefficient, have not been effective whatsoever. The Colts also ranked 24th at passing DVOA, covering the tight end position, so the defense is vulnerable against passing tight ends. So yeah, this play is only available on FanDuel as well. I did not see it on DraftKings or Caesar, so I don't like it at 4.5. I do think it's worth the juice, however, at 3.5. So yeah, I'm only playing this at 3.5. And then the other play from this, do we have another play on this game, Coach?
Corey Davis under 49.5 receiving yards.
That's from Jets.
That's from the Jets game. So that was just put into the wrong game. So my apologies there. Real quick in the chat, several people have their books have Arnold at 4.5, but you made it very clear you would not play it at 4.5.
I'd pass there. Yeah, if you're feeling somewhat risk tolerant, you could maybe go like half unit at it if it's like plus 125 or plus 130. But yeah, I firmly want you to stick with 3.5 if you have that available. I think it's a massive discrepancy, one reception at 3.5 to 4.5. So yeah, I'd much prefer you to stay away.
And real quick, and then I'm coming to you, AB. Another chat question. Arnold over 44.5 receiving yards, -110.
I think that line is more efficient. Much prefer the receptions. I know I'm not giving you guys a lot to work with, considering I'm telling you not to play 4.5 either. But yeah, I do think the yards is efficient. I would just look for the 3.5 number. That's really the good value.
Fantastic. AB, what do you got?
Yeah, so a couple of things here real quick. For the last 20 years, I've been subjected to AFC South interdivisional games, right? And they haven't always been fun. But I'll tell you this, the Jaguars always play the Colts tough. I'm not saying that they are today, but historically, if you look at the last 12, the Jaguars are 10-1-1 against the spread against Indianapolis, like legit. And then 2, you look at Indianapolis in terms of betting, in terms of player props, they are your model of consistency this season in a season of inconsistencies. All right, they've scored 30-plus points in 4 straight games. The over is 5-1 in their last 6. Carson Wentz has multiple touchdown passes in 6 straight games. Jonathan Taylor has 100-plus rushing yards in 6 straight games. And Jonathan Taylor has a rushing TD in 6 straight games. So if you want anybody that is consistent, it has been the Indianapolis Colts offense.
Do you have anything else from that game?
No,
I don't feel like you gave us enough. Real quick, check question, Mikey. Let me come to you on this one. Jonathan Taylor, his rushing number is 90.5 -110. Talk to me.
I certainly wouldn't take the under on it. Jonathan Taylor's someone now that I'm starting to consider more of the combined yardage props, though, with the rushing and the receiving, just because of how often they've been using him that way. In this particular game script, though, I think it's fine to go over on it. My median number is 99. Anytime you get above that 90-yard mark, it does get very fragile very quickly. just because of certain game scripts. The thing that we always caution against here is when you have a team like this that's very clearly better than the other, oftentimes turnovers lead to short fields, which take away yardage opportunities pretty significantly. That's the only caution I would have here, but there's 0% chance I would take the under on it. I have about 9 yards on the over in the median number. If that's something you feel comfortable with, I think that it's fine to play it. Just know that as you get to that 90 to 100 range, it starts to become pretty fragile.
All right, very good. We learned against the Jets that he can rip off a 70-yarder at any time for his Colts team. All right, we have our first 2 winners of the day, changing lives right here. At Chocolate Elbow. Interesting. At Chocolate Elbow. At Soaps64. You are the 2 newest family members. Welcome to SportsLine. You just want a year-long membership. You have access to everything, the cappers, the analysis, the simulations, everything you get for the next 12 months. Now, my man Eric in the chat said, sorry I'm late, everybody. Got way too drunk last night. Well, guess what, Eric? So did AB. And he still made it on time. So next time, please show up at noon Eastern time, please. AB, we always have to just bring you along, don't we?
Just bring along, baby.
All right, AB, I'm coming back to you. Next game on the board. And this is one that has really caught our attention since the Tuesday mega preview. It's one of our top 5 games of the week. Browns, Patriots. Patriots have been maybe the surprise of the NFL. Mac Jones playing terrific. They're laying 2.5, the total of 45. Here's where we stand on the show. RJ is on the under from our Tuesday show, which was at 45 at the time. Then Dearness Johnson, the maestro, gave it out this morning. Over 14.5 receiving yards. A lot of places it's 15 or 15.5 now. Then AB, what do you have on this play?
Yep. So I am on the Patriots -2 today. And look, we know that the Browns, what you just mentioned, their backfield is going to be decimated. And they're coming off a really large win that some would consider, a little bit of a surprise there, most notably how they went about in that blowout. But look, the Patriots have won and covered 3 straight. And in that span, they boast a plus 62-point differential coupled with a plus 5 turnover differential. They're getting the job done on both sides of the ball. And they've scored 24-plus points in 5 straight. Now, I'll say this. In terms of, not only the Patriots -2, but kind of a correlated play here with RJ, you said taking the under, I think is really smart because what Bill Belichick has done his entire career is that when you only have kind of one side of your offense that you get to operate with, he is really, really good at shutting that down, right? Like he does a great job of that. So they're going to come after Baker Mayfield. They're going to force the Browns to run the ball. I like that under, but me personally, Patriots -2.
All right. Alex, did you have something you wanted to say? You got that look on your face.
I don't. I gave out a prop on Twitter, Dearness Johnson, over 73.5 rushing yards. Very impressed by his single start. I believe he had 125 yards versus the Broncos on primetime. The Browns' offensive line is absolutely phenomenal, particularly the way they run the ball. Pretty much any back can be successful behind that line. The Patriots also have really struggled stopping running games this year. So I do expect the Browns to run the ball very effectively. I do like his prop a lot. However, I gave it out at 73.5. It's up to, I think, 79.5, where I'd personally lay off of it there.
All right, very good. I like that play. Mikey, let me come to you. Chat question. Baker Mayfield, over 226 passing yards, -150.
Let me. I have the numbers up. Let me search. 220. I'm on the under there. I have that one all the way down at 205.
Wow.
Looks like we're expecting a big. I mean, it's those numbers too. The big numbers like that, like an edge of 5-6 yards on a quarterback number is much different than a receiver having a 4-yard edge on a 40-yard prop, right? So. I would lean towards the under still on this one. I think that it's going to be a lot of Dearness Johnson. I think it's going to be a lot of controlling the tempo of this game. I think both sides want to do that as well. So I would lean towards the under here on Baker's yardage prop.
All right, very good. We are crossing the bottom of the hour. A whole bunch of new people just signed into the Early Edge Live. Welcome. We do this every single week right here. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is free. And turn on those notifications every single time new content drops into your feed. We are here for you. We're trying to get to 400 likes on the show, and I will give out 4 new year-long memberships to SportsLine, and you can be a part of the family. All right, any more questions, put them into the chat. Do not forget to put your Twitter handle so we can get a hold of you. One last thing, you need to follow us on SportsLine at Twitter to be eligible for all of this. All right, our next game. And this is another very, very popular game for a lot of different reasons. Mikey, I'm going to start with you. The Bills are laying a huge number, 13. The last 3 games, they have not looked good. All right, total 48. Here's where we stand on the show. Larry is on the Bills when they were at -12, is now up to 13. Alex, I'm going to come to you with your 2 plays, but I want to start with Mikey on his thoughts on this number with Mike White coming back at quarterback for the Jets.
Yeah, I like the Bills here. I make it all the way up to 13.8 in my simulations. I think that 14 is probably the appropriate number on this game still. You can't overstate what getting Dawson Knox back, having both running backs, Moss and Singletary, available as well at the same time. All of a sudden, this Bills team is actually relatively healthy. I think it's a really good bounce back, get right spot for them. Yes, Mike White was fantastic in the game that he played. Can he do it again? Yeah, he absolutely can. It's well within the range. However, I think that the Bills, it's time for them to obviously get serious and go out and make a statement game. I think this is a great spot for them. Again, I think the number should be 14 on this game. Would I play it at 13? I personally haven't, and I'm not. I like Maestro's number at 12 that he got there, but overall, I think it's an okay teaser candidate if you want to bring him back down a little bit here, get him at a touchdown. But overall, if you want to look for some props, Dawson Knox would be interesting if you could find him, because he's a big part of this offense and a big weapon for Josh Allen.
All right, there was somebody in the chat that was asking about him in DFS as well. Are you playing Knox at DFS?
He is in my player pool. He's not in my top lineups, but he's definitely in the player pool. I think he changes things a lot. I'm most interested in him, just how he impacts the game for Josh Allen as a whole. So even though I may not be playing Dawson Knox in a lineup, it makes me want to play Josh Allen more, just because I think that it helps him move the ball down the field a lot easier.
All right, so one more quick question then, because the chat had Josh Allen over 33.5 rushing yards. I'll ask you because the other two already have different plays. Would you like that number from Josh Allen?
Let me look. Sorry.
Let me come back to you. And then, AB, back up, answer for yourself, because you are on the Bills at 12.5.
Yep, absolutely. I'm on the Bills 12.5, and the reason being is this. New York's allowing 36.2 points per game to opponents since week 4. All right, they're also allowing the most yards per game in the NFL at 408 and the 4th most passing yards per game with 275. You look at Buffalo's defense, yeah, the offense hasn't been great at all, but like M Squared said, I think this is a great spot for them to kind of get things back in order in terms of, their health and everybody coming back. But you look at Buffalo's defense, their last 2 games that, their offense has been slop. Their defense is only giving up 10 points per game, right? So it's not like other teams have blown them out. So you've got a good defense that you've got to go up against too. So that helps you in terms of this number. So yeah, give me the Bills 12.5 here.
All right. I like all that information. I actually was going to do a SportsLine showdown, but as I was listening to you and Mikey talk, I was like, I'm going to back off, because the last thing I'm going to do is send anybody one freaking dime because I bet on the Jets. And I don't care if they cover. I'm not going to do it. Alex, I have my props open right now because I have to have them ready when you give out your plays, or else they move too fast. All right, you got 2 plays. Go.
I've given these out already, Coach. I just want to emphasize as these numbers have moved. I will talk about the numbers briefly. But, yeah, the first play is Stephon Diggs. I gave this out at over 73.5 receiving yards. I'd probably play this comfortably up to like 76.5 receiving yards. Look, Diggs is coming up.
That's where it's at right now. I didn't mean to interrupt you. 76.5 is where it is.
That's the cutoff for me, is 76.5.
Right.
So Diggs is coming off of a dominant 2020 campaign. He led the league in receiving yards. He's had somewhat of a quiet start this season. He's still on pace for a very solid season by most standards, but he's only registered a single 100-yard receiving game this season compared to last year when he had 7. Despite the dip in production, he is still playing at a very high level. He has a very healthy target share in a very high-volume passing attack. I believe he's poised to have a big game today versus a just dismal Jets secondary. Buffalo is obviously coming off of that loss to the Jaguars where they failed to score a touchdown. This is just a get-right spot for it. Mike really touched on it beautifully. The Jets are giving up the most points per game, 31.4. They've allowed 130 points over their last 3 games through the Patriots, Colts, and Bengals, who don't exactly profile as explosive offenses. The Jets rank 30th in defensive passing DVOA. They're surrendering the 3rd most passing yards per game. They're allowing the 4th highest completion rate, and they are just overmatched by Buffalo offense on paper. I also agree with Mike wholeheartedly. Dawson Knox makes a massive impact to Buffalo's offense. Diggs is the number 1 receiving option on one of the league's most explosive offenses. He has a tremendous matchup versus the Jets. They do not possess a corner capable of handling him one-on-one. The Bills' offense also has so many additional playmakers. It prevents secondaries from really keying on him and giving him a lot of attention, which is also good. I think the Bills are going to make an example out of the Jets. I think Diggs has a great shot to wind up with his second 100-yard receiving game of the season in the process. My other play is on the other side, and that is Jets wide receiver Corey Davis under 48.5 receiving yards. Not sure what the current number is. I want to say it's 44.5. Unfortunately, I wouldn't play it under 45.5. Just to touch on the play, if you can still get a number close to this. In 6 games so far, Corey Davis has been held under this number 4 times, including 4 of the last 5 games he's played. He's returning to the Jets lineup, having missed the previous 2 games due to a hip injury. The Jets receiving group is a little more crowded. Since he's returning, Jameson Crowder, Elijah Moore, Keelan Cole are all healthy, vying for targets. He'll also face a Buffalo defense that has just given up the fewest yards to opposing wide receivers. They've allowed just 928 yards to the position through 8 games. That is phenomenal. Buffalo ranks 1st in defensive passing DVOA, 1st in opponent passing yards per game, 1st in yards per pass attempt, 1st in yards per completion, 2nd in opponent completion percentage. They're also starting a rookie quarterback, Mike White, taken in the 5th round, who I just think is going to be overmatched. Furthermore, Mike White has been getting rid of the ball very quickly. The offense is predicated on getting the ball out of his hands quickly. He's targeting his running backs, his receivers. Corey Davis has the deepest ADOT of any player on the Jets offense. His routes are being run deep down the field. Mike White just is not going to have the time to find Corey Davis deep down the field. He'll also see a lot of Tre'Davious White, who is the best corner on the Bills' defense. He shadows the opposing team's number 1 wide receivers. This is just a very tough spot for a player playing with a rookie quarterback versus a dominant defense. I love fading Corey Davis under 48.5 receiving yards.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Boom goes the dynamite! Yes! Yes! Oh, I've been waiting for that all day. Oh, my God. I think I just had a heart attack. Oh, my God. I need a second. I've been waiting for that all day. I literally just blew a gasket. That was amazing. I defy any of you at home to go find a capper that has better information than Prop Stars every week. And I'll wait. And I will continue to wait because that is next level stuff. Alex, thank you, sir. All right, we got to move on. We got to get to our next game. Still several more on the board. All right, Lions and the Steelers. This is another very popular game when you're talking about opinions, right? This has come down to 6. It had gone down to 5. It's moved up to 6 now, 40.5. Where we stand on it is where I'm going to start with Mikey on this game because you gave this out on the morning show, but I want you to explain to the good people at home why.
Yeah, so I'm on the Steelers -5 here. Again, play it at 5.5. I don't like it at 6, but the market reaction was simply too strong to Ben Roethlisberger being out. I get it. He's got a big name value, but he's been one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL this year. So what happened here is the market moved this one a full 3 points and through 3 of the most significant numbers in the NFL, 2 of the top 3 significant numbers being 7 and 6. So that is why me personally, I am on the Pittsburgh Steelers here. Also like the fact that we've got a little bit of weather in this one. It's going to be cold, nasty, a little rain, snow mix. Jared Goff used to playing in a dome, used to playing in LA, used to a little warmer climates. Now he's got to go out there and play on a team that's not very good, not going to be a lot of fun playing in this kind of conditions. can't be overstated, frankly, because it's just not a lot of fun to be out there doing that, especially when you're not winning football games, things aren't going well as an organization. It's just not a good situation for him. So the drop between Ben Roethlisberger and Mason Rudolph, not significant. They're still going to lean on Najee Harris. I like the chemistry that he has with James Washington from their times in college football together. I think this is a great spot for him on their home field, as long as you're getting under that key number of 6.
All right. AB, talk to me.
Yep. One real quick thing in regards to what M Squared is saying. Yeah, he's right. I mean, Jared Goff, historically, a dome quarterback, fresh weather, warm weather quarterback. Couple that with this. The Detroit Lions are the only team in the NFL that hasn't had a 20-point plus game since week 2. And that's with conditions. So, yeah.
All right, very good. Alex, real quick before I get to Alex, can you throw up Nick Sisson's text there, jeweler? That just made me laugh. He goes, y'all send me a T-shirt, please. It would be great advertisement seen in several casinos in South Mississippi. I would wear it every weekend for good luck. Nick Sisson at Nick Sisson. Thank you. Yeah, we want our early edge T-shirts sitting for 8 hours at a slot machine in South Mississippi. But maybe we'll try that. Who knows? But thank you, Nick, for watching and being a part of the community. All right, Alex, I know you're on a play in this game, a name that has been very profitable for us this year. Who do you like?
He has indeed, yeah, Coach. That is TJ Hockenson over 4.5 receptions. I mentioned earlier how Dan Arnold is serving as the number 1 receiver, even though he plays tight end for the Jaguars. TJ Hockenson is doing the same thing for the Lions, even to more of an extent. He's gotten 31 targets over the last 3 weeks. He's turned that into 24 catches for 211 yards. He's also cleared this 4.5 reception mark in 3 consecutive games. He's averaging 8 targets per game. He's had at least 8 targets in 6 of 8 games. He's had at least 5 catches in 5 of 8 games. He ranks 3rd in targets only to Travis Kelce and Darren Waller. 75% catch rate. That is very efficient. We just saw Cole Kmet have a career game versus the same Pittsburgh defense. He reeled in 6 of 8 targets for 87 yards. Detroit ranks 8th in passing attempts per game with 38.8. Jared Goff is airing the ball out a ton. He has at least 21 completions in every game. He's averaging 26 completions per game. The Lions also just have very marginal depth and below average talent at the wide receiver position. So not only is Hockenson Goff's security blanket, but I mentioned earlier, he's the number 1 option in this passing offense. He has a very low ADOT, which is actually good in this instance, not in real life football, but for prop purposes, it's excellent. He's running a lot of shallow routes that are likely to result in catches. And remember, with receptions prop, efficiency does not matter. He could have 5 catches for 15 yards. We get paid just as much if he finishes with 5 catches for 150 yards. Hockenson is also healthy, which I love. He had a dip in production midway through this season when he was appearing on the injury report. But, yeah, he's been practicing in full. I'm expecting him to have close to double-digit targets again today. So, yeah, I absolutely love the spot for TJ Hockenson over 4.5 receptions.
My book has it at 5.5 at plus 138. Your thoughts?
I'd pass there, unfortunately, Coach. Or if you feel on a little gamble, you could go half unit on it.
Okay, very good. All right, we got 5 games to get to and only about 15 minutes, so we've got to start speeding it up just a hair. Bucs Langton at Washington. Alex, I'm going to start with you. Where we stand on the show as a show. Larry is on the Washington football team total over 19.5 minus 145. He's also on Taylor Heineke over 36.5 passing attempts minus 122. What's your feeling on this game with the Bucs on the road laying double digits, Alex?
Yeah, I think the Bucs are going to come out and do what they do, and they're going to put it on unfortunately, a bad Washington football team. I think this number makes sense to me. I think Washington is going to struggle running the ball versus the just absolutely dominant front of Tampa Bay. It's going to force Heineke to have to throw the ball a lot, which is why I like Larry's prop of Taylor Heineke's over passing attempts. I think for the only chance that Washington has in this game is for Heineke to throw the ball a lot. Unfortunately for Washington, they have a very banged up receiver core and just frankly not a lot of talent to begin with. Logan Thomas is inactive for this game. He was expected to be back. I do like Ricky Seals-Jones, but outside of Terry McLaurin and Ricky Seals-Jones, there is not much on this Washington offense. So I think they're going to have a hard time stopping Tom Brady. And this 10 points makes sense. Wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if this is a rout for the Bucs.
Yeah, I kind of like the over in this game, to be honest with you. I don't know. Just my gut tells me over. Many of you type in the word coach for a little shout out. Jay, Cody, John, Diffie, Elliott, Kyle. Kyle, we're going to come to Arizona at some point. The entire crew. We actually just talked about it the other day. We want to start taking the early edge on the road. Sometime in 2022, we'll start making that a regular thing. But can you imagine this show with the four of us sitting together in a sports book in Arizona? I think that would be killer. I really, really do. All right, move on to the 4 o'clock games because there are 4 today. This is a really good slate across the board. This one's interesting. AB, I'm going to come to you. Panthers at the Cardinals, laying 9, total 41.5. We do not have an official play on this game for obvious reasons. Both quarterback positions are very much up in the air. Is this a stay away for you, AB?
Yeah, absolutely, because you just don't know what you're going to get. Now, I know that the Arizona Cardinals got a win last week over the 49ers, with Colt McCoy back there. And M-Squared called it. Like, Colt McCoy is not a bad quarterback at all. But, doing that week after week after week, especially when there's no DeAndre Hopkins out there as well, it's a stay away from me. There's nothing that I see that I want to jump on here.
I learned the hard way. People think that at home, like, you kick yourself when you don't listen to M-Squared. No, we do too, because I did not listen to him last week, and it bit me really, really hard. I mean, a normal unit size, I would say. But M-Squared, very quickly, can you explain to the people at home why – because you have such an incredible insight to this. When you have a big-time quarterback like Kyler Murray, he comes out, the public says, I'm absolutely going opposite, but when you have a really good backup quarterback, it's why they pay these guys $7 to $10 million a year to be a good backup.
Yeah, Coach. Looks like I might be frozen also. My screen is frozen. So
yeah,
can you guys hear me? Okay.
We can hear you. Yeah, talk.
Well, we got the audio then. Okay. So, yeah, playing quarterback in the National Football League is difficult. Like, there's a reason why there are only 32 starting jobs, right? It's really, really, really difficult to do. And we talk about it all the time. Like, man, this guy sucks. This guy sucks. It is hard to play quarterback. If you're on a roster as a backup quarterback, it's because you've done a lot right in your life. You've done a lot right in your career. These are the best athletes in the world. But furthermore, if you watched the Arizona Cardinals, the number of weapons that they have, how good the defense has been, their defense has put the offense in good positions many times this year. But if you watch Kyler Murray, when he stopped running as he was hurt, he was just standing there kind of getting protected and dumping the ball off a lot, really. So it's not super surprising that there wasn't a massive drop off with that spot for them.
It is so funny how good our community is when something funny happens. M-Squared, Jason said, that's your normal stoic self, M-Squared. Another Pooh Bear said, M-Squared is a ventriloquist. Easy for me to say. That was so funny. Oh, my God. I wish that would have lasted the entire explanation. All right, moving on to the next 4 o'clock game. Vikings, Chargers. Chargers laying 3. Here's where we stand. Total 53.5 for the show. RJ is on the Chargers when it was at 2.5. Larry is on Justin Herbert over 2.5 passing touchdowns at plus 165. And then Alex and Allen each have a play. So, AB, let me start with you because you have a side.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Chargers -3 here. You look, the Vikings are 0-5 straight up this season against teams with a winning record. The Chargers 9-3 against the spread in their last 12. And you look at the injuries for the Minnesota Vikings. No Danielle Hunter. No Michael Pierce, no Anthony Barr, no Patrick Peterson, no Harrison Smith. That is 49.2% of their entire defensive salary cap. They are banged up on the defensive side, and I think this is a spot where the Chargers and Justin Herbert get it right. Plus, their last 2 games, the Chargers, it have been 27-24 exactly. They've won one of those and lost one of those in their last 2.
Amazing stuff. Quick housekeeping. Panthers, they've just dropped to 7.5. You're interested in that game. Don't forget to drop your Twitter handles into the chat. That's the only way that we can get a hold of you, please, because the likes are coming in, and we're about to change 4 more lives. Alex, you got to play on this game.
I do. That is Kirk Cousins under 274.5 passing yards. He's been held under 275 yards in 5 of 8 games this season. 2 of those games that he eclipses total went to overtime. The Chargers are allowing 161 rushing yards per game. That is the most in the NFL. They've allowed only one quarterback, however, to eclipse this 275-yard number. The Chargers have given up the 4th fewest passing yards this season, 197 per game. The Chargers rank 9th in passing DVOA, while they rank dead last in rushing DVOA. I think this is very likely going to be a game script where the Vikings run the ball a lot against a very bad Chargers rush defense, and they rely heavily on Dalvin Cook. I have Cousins projected for 251 yards. I think this number came in too large. I do feel the Chargers secondary might not be quite as good as some of the raw numbers suggest, but they have a very talented group of players. Chris Harris Jr., Asante Samuel Jr., Derwin James, Devon Coleman are all quality players. Plus, their run defense is so poor, and their inability to stop anyone on the ground is going to force teams to run the ball down their throats, especially a head coach like Mike Zimmer, who would like nothing more than to rush the ball 55 times this game and throw the ball like play action 10 times. So, yeah, I think this is a good spot to fade Kirk Cousins under 274.5 passing yards.
All right, how far down would you play it to? My book, literally, I scrolled there to see it in real time. It literally moved 8 yards as you were talking.
I played this
266.
266. Yeah, that's about where I'd cut it off, Coach. I'd say around 264.5.
All right. Then I almost played the over. Have you guys ever done that where you put in a play and you're like, oh, I meant to hit the under, and I actually played the over?
Countless times.
Yeah, you're like, it happens all the time. When I'm asleep, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm just hitting bets. All right, we got 2 plays left. We only got 5 minutes to do it, so we got to jump in, guys. 4:25 Eastern. Eagles, Broncos. An interesting spot here, Mikey, because the Broncos are laying 44.5 is the total. They went to Dallas, scored 30, and blew out the Cowboys. Very surprising. Here's where we stand on the show. Uncle Dave on our prop show gave out Jerry Jeudy over 58.5 receiving yards. Mikey, talk to me.
Yeah, this one's tough. I don't want any part of the game in terms of the spread or the total. I think it's pretty efficient. I understand if you want to lean on the Broncos after what you've seen in that last game and the state of the Eagles at this point, but I think that it's Jeudy or nothing. I like that he was on Jeudy there. I know we have a lot of interest in guys like Tim Patrick, who's hit that low number of like 36.5 or so. I just want to caution there. He was a little banged up heading into this game, but they are truly healthy now. They've got Cortland Sutton out there. They've got Jerry Jeudy. They've got Tim Patrick. Now they've got Noah Fant back. It's just one of those spots where there's a lot of mouths to feed, just like the Buffalo team. That's why you don't see a lot of us with Buffalo pass catcher props this week. Same thing here. I think that there's just so many mouths to feed. The game's going to be a little bit slower pace, especially if the Eagles continue to run the football like they have been. So I like Jerry Jeudy. I think he's extremely talented. If he shores up those drop issues that he had in the first season there, he's going to be, knocking on the doorsteps of being a top 10 receiver in the NFL. He's electric. He's very good. So that's where I would lean. I'd like to be early on his real breakout and emergence here. But as far as the other guys in this game, I think it's a pretty clear stay away because of how healthy they are.
All right. Alex, did you raise your hand? Do you have something?
No, I didn't, Coach.
Okay, very good. So many people, you never know what's going to set off the chat. And people are commenting now on how many times they put in a bet they didn't mean to. I'm so glad that doesn't happen to just me. That sometimes you lay with your sportsbook open, you realize that you just made like $500 in bets, and you're like, really? I played Jerry Jeudy over 100 rushing yards? What? All right, last game on the board, because we're not touching Sunday Night Football on this show. Tonight is way too big. And me and Mikey have way too much invested to even touch on the game right here. We'll be back at 7:20 Eastern time live tonight for Chiefs and the Raiders Sunday Night Football. Damn it, show up for that. Now, let's get into our final game today, because this has 2 future Hall of Famers. One coming back from an injury, Russell Wilson, one coming back from COVID. And somehow the Packers are only favored by 3 at home. The total here is 49. I want everybody talking on this. So, AB, let me start with you, because you actually have a play on this game. All 3 of you do. Talk to me.
Yep, I'm on the under 49.5 here. Look, I think you're going to have 2 quarterbacks that are coming back, obviously, from not playing. Russell Wilson, way more extended. You're going to be in cold weather snow game up in Green Bay, and I think you're going to have 2 quarterbacks and 2 teams that are, quite frankly, trying not to make that big mistake, and they're going to run the ball. Green Bay, especially, is going to get yardage on the ground today. So, yeah, give me the under 49.5 here.
Mikey, back him up.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite plays. I put this one on Tuesday afternoon at 49.5, and frankly, I think this one should be down to 47. I think that's a pretty meaningful edge, getting through some big numbers on totals. Like AB said, both quarterbacks coming back. I'm not worried at all about Aaron Rodgers. A little bit worried about Russell Wilson until we've seen him throw and grip the ball, get hit. In the cold weather, it's a little more difficult to grip the ball there. I'm not worried about the weather in terms of the snow impact. I think the snow is basically moved out by the time this game starts, but it's definitely definitely going to be cold, a little wind. The wind's like hovering right in that range where it should impact some of the deep throws, definitely can impact field goals in that stadium. We love missed field goals when you bet the under. So that's definitely what we're looking for in this spot. I like the under's the top play here. In DFS, I love Devontae Adams. I really like DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. I haven't played any of their props yet. Those are ones I talk about it. You guys watch the shows a lot. If you don't, you need to watch them all, obviously. But this is one where I like to live bet. I want to see a possession or two, see how the ball is coming out of Russell Wilson's hand. If everything looks good and the Packers happen to score in their first drive or two, that's when I'll become interested in live betting props on DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. If Green Bay gets out to an early score and Russell Wilson looks like he's comfortable throwing the football, I think those props are too soft.
I encourage you to follow Mikey on Twitter because all the time during games, he'll tweet out what he would do, what he encourages you to do. It's a great way to learn because live betting can be very scary if you've never done it before. But once you start to do it, man, it's a hell of a lot of fun. All right, Alex, you have the last play on this game. What do you got?
I do, and I've got a little bit of good news. Out of every single prop that I've given out today, this is the only line that is actually the same number is available.
Awesome.
Yeah, so this is A.J. Dillon over 54.5 rushing and receiving yards. This is a combo prop. Just want to make sure that you guys are aware of that. Listen, football fans outside of Green Bay might not realize this, but A.J. Dillon has been outplaying Aaron Jones while simultaneously inching closer and closer to a true 50-50 split in the backfield. Dillon is an explosive runner. He fights for extra yards. He's getting more involved in the passing game every week. He possesses all the tools of a 3-down running back. The Packers are also desperate need of playmakers. They have very little talent outside of Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones at their skill positions. Over the last 6 weeks, Dillon has eclipsed this number in 5 of 6 games. He's averaging 10.1 rushing attempts per game and 68.5 combined rushing and receiving yards per game and a very robust 5.9 yards per touch. He's also playing a Seahawks team that is allowing 105 yards per game on the ground to running backs and 70.1 receiving yards per game to running backs. That is a total of 175.1 combined rushing and receiving yards per game to the running back position. That is the second most allowed in the NFL. That is huge. I love everything I've seen out of A.J. Dillon. He is forcing the Packers to increase his workload. He continues to excel in this Green Bay offense. He's been somewhat matchup proof at this low of a number, and he's just facing a Seattle defense that has been shredded by running backs on the ground through the air. I would not be surprised if this is the last time we are treated to a line under 60 yards combined rushing and receiving for A.J. Dillon. I absolutely love the guy. I think he's one of the best young running backs in football. He is phenomenal. If you haven't watched him play yet, watch him today.
Well, that'll be a national game, certainly at 4:25. All right, we are up against it. The game start in 3 minutes. So, Jeweler, throw up the recap so everybody can see it. Get your plays in. Hopefully you've been putting them in as the show has gone along. I've got 4 winners very quickly. I need to give out year-long memberships to at The Awful Gambler. That could be all of us. At JSim1717, at Jamie Cube, and at Big Rye64. We will contact you on Twitter and tell you how you get a year-long membership. Welcome to the family. Very quickly, 15 seconds only, guys. Tell me what you're most looking forward to today before Sunday Night Football. Alex, go.
I'm looking forward. I just mentioned it, but yeah, I'm looking forward to watching A.J. Dillon play. Like I mentioned before, I think he's one of the best young running backs in football. He is forcing the Packers to turn that into a 50-50 split in the backfield. I think he's going to continue today and have a huge game versus a Seattle defense that could not stop anybody.
Mikey.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see how the Cowboys respond after that game last week. Everyone's a little more healthy for them. And then, of course, I want to see Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson play each other. Definitely not going to miss a single snap of that one.
AB.
Yep, the Titans have an opportunity to get a 2-game lead over the entire AFC today with a win. Also, if the Chiefs win tonight, they will have the tied for the second most wins in the AFC. That's crazy.
That's just stupid. That's just stupid. I don't even know how that's possible. Oh, this has been such a crazy year. But damn it, we're still grinding. We're still grinding. All right. Man, this is my favorite time of the week. There's only one thing left to do before our 10 early games at 1 o'clock, and that is say to all of you, thank you. And also, you've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these Sunday tickets straight to the pay window. My entire team, AB, M Squared, Prop Stars, the jeweler, of course, the maestro, our entire team at the Early Edge of SportsLine. Tell your friends. Come join us for every single show. Follow us at YouTube. Turn on the notifications. You won't miss a thing. We'll see you tonight at 7:20 Eastern Time right here on the Early Edge. Good luck.